what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum. Welcome to episode Found Footage Fridays with my co-host, Micah Serial.
Hi, viewers. Welcome and happy Friday, and hope it's a lot better now that you're listening to us.
Yeah, so we did delivery, pregnancy, found footage horror last week. So this week, we're going a little more old school found footage style stuff. We're going to the woods. And I think this is relatively new, but I guess you can also watch it somewhere other than, of course, Found TV. But Found TV is where I watched it. And I assume you as well, right?
Yes.
So the movie we're going to be talking about was technically a 2024 release, but it is a movie called, and you'll love the title, A Stranger in the Woods, which is very common. But
Yes.
the plot summary, really quick, is just a young film student is about to make a documentary about an elderly man who has been hiding from the world for many years. But as secrets from his past come to light, their strange relationship takes a fateful turn. Girls, stop going into the woods with strangers by yourself. Can we just put that out there? Stop doing that.
Yes.
Stop doing that. That would knock out like 50% of our found footage
Yes.
horror movies, I think, in general. Stop
In
doing
general.
stuff by yourself. Stop it. Anyway. All right,
Stranger,
so
danger.
it rhymes for a reason.
We learned that at 4.
We did. We learned that very young. Okay, so this is sort of my pick. It's newer. It just released on Found TV. What are your unspoiled thoughts of A Stranger in the Woods?
This was a fun surprise. Again, so this was May's Found TV Watch Found Fridays watch party. We had a blast with this one.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a fun one to watch, and while there were little breadcrumbs of things, I don't think I would have figured out where this took us.
Heck no.
But this is, for me, and I think we've talked about this and we mentioned this together. This is very creep-esque type found footage movie.
Except Angel
with
didn't hate
a
this one.
twist.
Yes.
So I love this.
No, I really liked this one. Like, really liked it a lot. I don't know if the creep elements, I think, are maybe because it's different people, and I don't know what the difference is there, but I really liked this one. I will tell you, this one tricked me too, because like I think the end is a big twist. I don't think if you go into it, I don't think you're going to know. I just don't think you're going to know. And so it goes in a direction I couldn't have anticipated, which is really hard to do these days. And also there's like these weird kind of semi-emotional moments where you like really feel for some of the characters and some of the stuff that's going on. I don't think that it's just this crazy, outlandish thing where there's not constantly stuff going on. I think it starts very subtle, much like we always talk about with this formula, and then it escalates into this just batshit ending. But I really liked this one. I thought the acting was super good. I really liked the story. I liked the way they told the story. And story-wise, the only complaint is I wish women would stop going into the woods by themselves with strangers. I think that I mean, we learned this when we read Little Red Riding Hood, right? Like, there's always a wolf. Stop doing that. But that, I think, while in the beginning I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, right? The beginning I was like, okay, this is going to take me completely out of it. It did not. Once she got there and she met him and things kind of started, I kind of just forgot about that piece. So I think that must be a testament to how this plays out as a story, because I was fine with it after like the first couple of minutes, even though it annoyed me in the beginning. So I really liked this one. I thought it was a very fun, unique found footage. There's not many of these types of found footage movies. I think this is one of like maybe 3 or 4. So it's not very common in the direction that it goes. And so I appreciated that. I really liked it. Also, the guy that plays the stranger, Jesus, he is phenomenal.
So I know him he's a big horror actor. He has so many credits.
Okay.
He's not always like a main character, but I will just say, because I didn't even notice him in a lot of things that I knew him in until this movie, because I'm like, I have to look up who this man is, because
What?
performance, honestly, and I know you feel differently because you're not the biggest fan of the creep type movies and
Right.
stuff,
Right.
but
Yeah.
his performance is up there with the creep Mark Duplass's character from Creep. Like,
Yeah.
because I think that's a great performance of Descent into Madness type,
Mhm.
and this man was creepy. This
He
man,
was.
but he was also super charismatic.
He was charismatic, and there were parts at this times, like, when I felt sad for him. Did that happen to you? Like, there were parts where I was like,
Yeah, before I knew
the
what we
situation.
know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there
Yeah,
were, I was like, oh, is he like, I was like, he's very lonely. And I thought it was going in a different direction because
sure.
I kept thinking, I'm like, oh no, like this is a, while he was trying to live off grid, I was like, it's getting to him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then, yeah.
No, yeah, this one was super good. I do think you can also watch this one on Tubi, but I think you'd be doing yourself a favor to watch it on Found TV, as we literally just discussed last week. Found TV's ads are nowhere near as out. It's just they're not as crazy as Tubi's. And you can get the paid yearly Found TV with no ads for 10% off using keyword voices. So you just take advantage of it. It goes to a great cause, especially now that they're getting ready to do originals. So, or they're in the process of doing originals. What do you rate this? Stranger in the Woods.
So I am gonna go again with a 7.5.
Okay.
I, for me,
Mhm.
this was very strong. And I hate that this is a common criticism that I have, especially within this genre,
Yeah.
because it seems so picky at this point. But you, especially within the found footage subgenre, you do got to be very careful with your runtime. And I think
Yeah.
this one could have gotten a little bit of a shave.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Yeah, the timing wasn't something I really noticed, but I do think there's definitely some lingering for no reason.
Yeah.
I can see what you're saying there. Yeah. Um, well, I'm gonna shock you, and I am also gonna give this a 7.5. I think that this is a really, really good movie. It's so hard. We both talk about this, I think, every episode. It's so hard when you consume so much of this stuff to be surprised. And when you get to that point, and we'll get to this more when we do spoilers in a minute, but when you get to the part where you're like the pieces fall into play, I literally was sitting watching it going, there is no fucking way they're going in this direction with this movie, because they did such a great job of concealing it, and it's just not done often enough for your head to even go in that place. So I mean, it gets so many extra points just for the fact that, like, I could never have imagined this story going the direction that it did. And again, acting crazy strong, and the female lead is amazing in this too. She's very much, she's very rough and tumble, which I appreciate. There's some parts where she's like not showing any fear. She's like, all right, let's dance. Like she's good with whatever. And I really appreciated that. So I liked her a lot as well. But yeah, I really liked this. I think it's worth watching. And I think it will probably be a pleasant surprise for a lot of people. I mean, if you figure this out in the first, like, I'm just gonna think you're lying. I'm not even gonna believe you, because I just don't think you see it coming. So,
Or if you did, tell us your thought process because I need to
because
know.
I did not I just assumed it was going to be another creep,
Yeah.
genuinely, and I could not have been more wrong. And I love that about that, because I do enjoy. I would rather be wrong. I don't want to be right when I watch these. Just like with the one we did last week, I didn't want to be right that I was going to hate it, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
Thank God. But yeah, so anyway, so yeah, so I would also give this one a 7.5. I really, really liked it. If you guys have not seen it yet, it is on Found TV. You can also watch it on Tubi if you want, but it's worth watching, I think. So spoiler wise, I think the first obvious thing we have to discuss is the fact that this is vampire found footage.
It is vampire found
Like
footage.
what?
And then here's the
What?
thing. We don't, like you mentioned earlier, without saying it, we don't get a lot of it. And when we do, I'm not going to say that they're all bad. I just am going to say that they're not necessarily for me. But this one was because, again,
Yeah.
it took you in a very weird direction because based off of the vampire knowledge that we know, which is why I think it would be very hard to guess that this happened because we all grew, especially millennials, we all grew up on Buffy,
And in
Twilight.
your face vampire stuff, right?
And then just because like we saw him do things that typically we wouldn't see vampires be
Vampires
able
do.
to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know how anyone would be able to guess that this is where it went.
I genuinely don't either. So the only thing I can think of is the drinking stuff at the beginning. But any human, because she sips his tea stuff that he's talking about, any human, okay, who was given a cup of tea and sipped it and it was blood would know that it was blood. Blood has a distinctive smell, and you would just know because you've bitten your tongue before, or done this when you've cut your
Yeah,
finger.
everyone's tasted their blood.
Everyone does, right? We're all vampires, so everybody has. So you're not gonna immediately go there because she just said it was gross, and I thought it was just boozy. I just figured it was like some moonshine, backwoods, something he's made out of potatoes or whatever,
Yeah, well, like you said, so we're getting, and this was early on, so even still, you're not going to fully get any kind of concept. Like, we couldn't jump into this is going to be a
Oh,
creep situation or not, but this is where, for me, it did start going into the creep route that I thought it was going because, like you said, anybody, I would have never guessed that it was blood, but when she took a sip of that tea and she said that, my instinct, but it didn't go anywhere, was
drugs.
she's being poisoned or drugged.
Yep, same. I thought the same thing. And I think that's smart filmmaking because I think the filmmakers knew that's what we were going to think. There's some weird ass guy in the middle of the woods. She's there by herself, a young woman trying to do whatever. And yeah, I mean it goes in that direction. And when the pieces start to come together of like how old he is and like how the things he's been doing, and it's just very like I honestly just thought, like you said when we before, I thought he was just kind of going crazy. Like he kills that rabbit.
Yeah,
Was it a rabbit? Rabbit. I think it was a rabbit.
I think it was a rabbit.
Oh my god. Yeah, and he's like got blood everywhere. And it was just this moment of like this is one of the moments I actually felt bad for him because I was like, "Oh my god, he's like senile or something." And he's like this elderly man who like lives alone and he's been alone. He talks about what his wife, this woman we assume is his wife, has died and all these things. And so you're just like, "Oh my god." Like I felt so bad that part where he freaked out about the food.
Yeah,
I first of all I was scared, and then I was with her because she was scared too. And then she was like, "It's okay, it's okay." Like she was trying to, and I felt like there's this natural softness we carry for people like children and the elderly, and we immediately go into this, "Oh my God, how can I fix it for you?" And sometimes, especially in the horror movies, they end up being the dangerous ones. And you're like, "Oh, let me help you. Let me make life better for you." And meanwhile, they're like, yeah, so and then like they go and get the food and he's eating the raw sandwich, the breakfast sandwich or whatever, burger, whatever the heck it was supposed to be. Ugh.
that was so gross. But where we went there, and I don't know why, because that would still be like animal meat, but this is where I thought, because again, I'm going the creep, nothing was preparing me for what we were getting to.
No, same.
But I
Hmm.
thought we were getting closer to cannibalism.
See, I actually had cannibalistic thoughts too. Or I didn't have cannibalistic.
Oh, did you know?
Let me back up real quick.
That's a clip.
I'll use that to promo the episode. I was having cannibalistic thoughts. My brain went to cannibalism as the theme as well because of that scene. And because, okay, so after that scene, that's when my brain went back to what he was drinking. And I was like, okay, maybe it's like bodily fluids, like something from inside. Like, who knows? It could have been, whatever. But yes, I thought the same thing. And because she like bit into it and she was like, "Oh my god, it's raw." And he goes, "Oh, that's how I like it." And then like we have to watch him eat it for some reason. I was like, "Ooh,"
Yeah.
but but I eat my burgers medium, but medium is as low as I'm going. Gross. But anyway, but yeah, it was so that the build up to these little nuggets that we get are just so good. And I have to say, I think genuinely the only complaint I have is the cops.
Okay.
Like, what were the filming, the way this was shot was so good. And then we get these dumbass cops, and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, first of all, it's almost like playing a game where something is repeating itself. It's like, oh, the cop shows up and he gets downed, and then the other cop shows up and then he gets down. I did not like the cop scenes. I
The
did
cop.
like
Go
the
ahead.
shots, some of the shots, but them in general, I was like, they're dumb.
Yeah, the cops they chose were not great, but I did like some of the cop element because I liked the phone calls. I thought that was a cool when they
Mhm.
were showing on screen the phone calls.
Yeah, and the
Um,
conversation between dispatch and the police
yeah,
officers. Yeah,
I thought
I
that
think
was a
that's cool.
great break and unique take into this found footage movie.
Yeah.
I really liked that. And then another thing that I really, really loved, um, and we do see it, especially in like um, camping type found footage films. But something about this one felt more primal. Um, I need to talk about the night shot when they were using the night vision when he was out in the
Oh,
woods in his underwear, very mad and manic. Um, that was a very disturbing scene. I really loved the way it was shot. It
yeah, me
made
too.
it look creepier. His body acting was phenomenal.
It was
In
good.
like, I was just like, that might have been one of the more like strongest scenes for me in this
I agree
movie.
with that. That was a strong scene. And because I think like because even when we get the scenes towards the end when he's like telling her that like he thought about killing her numerous times, but she was different. And then we do get the first shot of her as a vampire once I think it's the first cop shows up. Maybe it's the second, I can't remember, but it's after the cops have shown up and we get this very rushed scene of her, very quick. And I thought that was smart too, because I think it just gives this moment of like, this has happened, but we're not going to let you think about it. We're just going to keep moving. Um, and I liked that too. I love that. I just think there's a lot of good with this. I think my main weakness was I didn't think the cops were great, and her poor little Meemaw was a terror. Was not good. Not good. Meemaw was a little under under for me. Um, Her random video, I don't know, like, that stuff felt so not non-sequential to everything else, like, the phone call was fine, but the acting on the other side of it was not super great, and then we get this random video, she's like, "I don't know if you'll get this," and I'm like, "What? How did we get it? What is going on?" Like, she's in this video, and then she's like, "He's a vampire," or whatever it is, I was like, stop it, go lay down, I can't do it.
And then, so my only gripe and question, and this could be because, again, there every time I watched it, there was something going on because it's either the watch party where I have
Sure.
to be paying attention to what other
Interacting
people are
and
doing
yeah,
and stuff.
yeah.
And then when I was rewatching it, it's kind of like the time you're watching it, you're going in and out of your own head. I know that they had to have because it would have been a really big piece not to talk about. So maybe you caught it and I didn't. Did they explain why he was able to be in the sunlight? No.
No. I laugh because you're just staring at the screen blinking like like I need an answer. No, he just isn't a typical vampire. Like
Okay.
it's really just I think it's just presented on this plate of like this is our lore. I
Okay.
mean, at least he didn't sparkle, right?
Yeah, I'll take that. No, okay. I just wasn't sure if that was
No,
like something that I missed
I don't think
or
so. When it came to the lore portion, they really more focused on him having one victim every so often, and then basically he's saving the blood, right?
yeah.
And that's what's in the containers and all of that. And so and that's why there's no real food in the house. But that really was it. And I don't think I'm trying to remember the scenes as they flow. It didn't even really show how he made her a vampire, right? Other than yeah, so they were very careful with that stuff, which is fine. Honestly, at this point, if you're going to do vampires, you got to do something outside the box because Jesus Christ, I mean, we've seen it all, and then none of it makes sense anymore. So it needs to be different, and I think that's probably why we got well. And to let's be honest, if he couldn't come out during the day and they had the tea conversation, we might have thought something very different.
Yeah, we would have caught on quickly.
Yeah,
But again, yeah, that was my thing, and that's why viewers. That's why I honestly think no one would have. You couldn't have, based off of all the vampire lore that we know up until this movie, you couldn't have known unless he had that ring from Buffy and slash Angel, the crossover episode
oh yeah,
where they can walk in the
walk in the
sunlight.
sunlight.
Like, no, you
And
wouldn't
even
have
in
seen
that
this.
though, they still dress like it was the 1800s. Like you're walking in the daylight, but you got on a trench coat you've had since the 70s.
Yeah.
You're not fooling
So,
nobody.
but the funny thing is, even knowing that
Yeah.
now that they did never cover that part, like you said, I honestly don't care.
I don't care either.
It doesn't
I thought
matter to
this was
me. It's
yeah,
new lore.
I'm
He's a
good with it.
different type of vampire, and I'm good to go. I
I
love
like
it.
that. I really liked it. And I feel like there's such this, and because, like you said, he's so charismatic, there's so much humanity there that you just don't expect that. And when he starts, God, he did such a good switch between this like fragile old man who's just lonely to, I knew you were different. You're like, what the hell? Like he just switched it like that, and it was so convincing and so compelling. And you're like, told you not to come out here, girlfriend. I told you not
Yeah.
to go out into the woods by yourself. So anyway, yeah, I really liked this one. My favorite vampire found footage movie is Afflicted, which this does not quite compare to. Very different setups. That is very, I would argue, much more in your face vampire than this is, as far as what's going on. But I think that found footage is cool to do with vampires. So I hope to see more of it in the future. I really do because it just, I mean, vampires are kind of like cryptids, sort of.
Well, you know what I really love too, and we'll bring this up because we will always find a way to talk even more about our friends over at Found TV.
Yes.
So again, we said this movie can be found on Found TV.
Yep.
And in June, since they already talked about it and the director posted about it, there is another vampire found footage film that's coming to Found TV. I do forget the name. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I don't know.
But it will be coming out in June to Found TV. I did see it at a online film festival. It
Oh,
is a very unique concept. It is a queer vampire
oh,
found footage film. So
okay.
I have a feeling we may cover this
We
movie.
will probably cover that one. Yeah.
But yeah, so Found
Yeah.
TV, again, guys, they are covering all the bases because, like we said, you don't get a lot of vampire found footage films, and now they got two.
I love it. No, this is good. And if you're not watching Found TV anyway, I'm confused at this point why you're, what you're doing with your life. Um, well, no, I really like this. Go watch A Stranger in the Woods. However you want to watch it, just watch it. It's very good, fun little take on stuff. And yeah, I think that's gonna pretty much wrap up this week's episode of Found Footage Fridays. Would you believe that I almost forgot the name of the show for like a split second there? Anyway, if you're not already following Mike, please, his links are in the description where you can find him on Instagram, as well as a link to our merch if you decide that you'd like to match us. And yeah, that's all we have for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this episode of Found Footage Fridays. We hope you have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your week, and Mike and I will see you next Friday.